generally, my clients often come to me when they are co-sleeping with their children. Many don't mind co-sleeping, some really enjoy it, but there's usually that underlying question of when will my child be able to sleep on their own in their own room? Now, this question is quite similar to when will my child be able to sit up at the table and eat nicely with a knife and a fork? And I think these two questions are quite similar because they are both questions about when will my child do what's socially acceptable, not necessarily what human development has mapped out for them. And when we look at traditional cultures, it's quite normal for people to sleep in family groups, to eat with their hands. So you can see that sleeping alone, eating with utensils, is a socially conditioned thing. It's not actually an instinctive step of development. So largely the answer to this question comes down to, well, when does something feel normal enough because they've observed their parents doing it in that way that they decide that they want to do it for themselves, often in connection with mimicry. So we know that children in their second year really value copying those they love. So whatever their parents are doing or their siblings are doing, they like to mimic. And that's just one way that they show that they're securely attached to those people. Now, the difference between using knives and forks and sleeping independently, of course, is that at least 3 times a day we're eating with our children, so they get to watch us use knives and forks. So they're naturally going to want to copy that. Now, in the case of independent sleeping, so often children are put in their rooms on their own before they've even witnessed parents sleeping. Where co-sleeping is advantageous to this process unfolding is that children can become independent in how they fall asleep, how they place themselves, what they do on the run up to sleep in the company of a parent first. They can observe what their parent does. For example, they might put their pillow under them or they might roll on their tummy. They get comfortable and they put themselves to sleep. Children can absolutely do this in a co-sleeping situation until they're completely comfortable doing it independently. Then we can start to look at putting more distance between ourselves as the child naturally wants to do things on their own. So from a human development point of view, in their 3rd year is when kiddies start to become a bit more preoccupied with ownership and belonging. So this might be the time that they get excited about the thought of having their own knife and fork. And maybe it would be nice to think about having my own bedroom and my own sleep space, because at that age, that's when they feel separate enough from us that they get excited about doing all of this for themselves. So when parents ask me, when is my child going to sleep on their own? I really bring them back to human development and help them to trust the process is unfolding. If we don't push children into independence too quickly, they are more likely to take those steps themselves when they feel safe in that separation. So next time you're thinking, oh my gosh, my child will never sleep on his own, he's never going to eat nicely at the table with a knife and fork, just be a bit gentle with yourselves, because these are social norms. These are not biological norms. These are things that ultimately society is trying to condition us to do. So trust that development is going to unfold in a certain order, and you can take advantage of those steps in development as they come. So you can nudge them in the direction of those social norms at a time that feels a bit more natural.